Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. Hope you're well. Coming to you from Phuket, where it's getting very hot and dry. I know some of you are experiencing snow and stuff. But yeah, a lot of thoughts, or a specific one wanted to talk about today. About this process of learning as we go through life and having these experiences. And maybe that's the whole purpose anyway of being here. Who knows what happens after we leave this realm. But you know, if we assume that we're here to learn some lessons, just like any student, it really depends on the student whether they're going to accept those lessons. Yeah. A couple of words that I've just learned recently that I wanted to share with you. The first is unsui, or unsui. It's a Japanese word, right? And it's this kind of description of this Zen way of drifting like the clouds or flowing like water. Unsui. So I think that's really like a good way to be, or to try to be. It's difficult to achieve. In fact, the weird thing is it isn't achieved through effort of thought. It's achieved through the opposite of letting go of all those thoughts and not being driven through life by thoughts, but rather through the natural flow. So you're going with the flow. That's probably the equivalent of how we'd say it in English, but drifting like the clouds is really nice, I think. Unsui, yeah. For example, I go out onto the roads here on a motorbike especially, but even in a car, however you're going on the roads, and you'll see people, you'll see that the traffic has its natural flow, right? And if you're not thinking too much, you can just go with the natural flow, and you can, not even become frustrated or annoyed at people doing other things in front of you, whether it's slowing you down or whizzing in and out of you. Yeah. But then you can see other drivers or motorcycle riders trying to just fight with the traffic, and they're getting through and they're weaving in and out and they're braking and accelerating and then getting annoyed when someone cuts them off because they were surprised that person came by so quickly. They might get a few meters ahead, they might shave a few seconds or possibly minutes off their journey, but in doing so, it's a very frustrating experience, it's a very tense experience, and of course that's just not good for the mind, body or soul, is it really? It's better to kind of just go with the flow of the traffic, but even so, when you do that, it's still a kind of, you have to make a conscious effort, right? A lot of the time. But ultimately you can reach that point where you're really not paying attention to, or there is no angst arising from that. This has just reminded me of a quite a impactful video seen from a farmer, the Welsh farmers, the farmers in Wales and the UK and all over Europe are having issues right now. Well, they've had issues for a long time, and it's culminating obviously with all the taxes and the tariffs and the mandates and things they have to do and can and can't do because we know there's an agenda to eradicate kind of a natural way of life and then get connected to this insane idea of making food in factories and things like that. There's a particular video where this farmer is in his tractor trying to make a video, and it's just suffering so severely mentally because of this it is imaginary. It's because although yes, they are impacted by all these mandates and government restrictions, they're stuck in this kind of, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and this is the end. And I just want to, can totally understand, you know, I just want to make a living. I just want to farm the land without being disrupted by these people. And of course, a lot of the time what we're dealing with is just this dichotomy that's created, especially by the media and of course the government and the people that want to take over all of these industries. But you know, they put these things out, the elites put these things out and create the dichotomy and get people thinking and worrying about what's going to happen, when really we've just got to carry on without being divided. And then the answer for the farmers is simple, and it's good because it's coming to this point where people and farmers reconnect. You know, people have become so disconnected that they don't. People might grow up these days not knowing where eggs come from and things like that. Yeah, they've never seen anything that remotely resembles traditional, conventional farming. But of course, we all totally depend on it. So I see that angst from the farmer as part of the process, because you've got to go through that to start to then be free from it. Yeah. So sometimes you're put into this position where you're fighting for something that has been just kind of fabricated from people's minds, and so you're having this fight, whether it's with time constraints or things like that. These are all just conceptual things that are going on in our mind, not actual reality. Of course, the biggest trick is to turn that illusion into some kind of reality. Another interesting aspect of this is that we ourselves, as humans, are the creators of whatever happens. So obviously, if things are put out there that go against what is natural and normal, then you get this whole scenario created, and then it manifests this idea that we're going to be in a war, or we're going to be in a battle to just to live in peace, is always at the forefront of our mind, because people or media or certain entities are telling us that things are a certain way and there's nothing you can do about it. So this leads on to the kind of second word that I learned recently. It's a Greek word, metanoia. Metanoia. It's interesting, the word meta in Thai is, or Sanskrit, is also kind of this. It's related to a kind of to peacefulness, I suppose. Meta, but this word metanoia is this journey that we take when, as a spirit, as a soul in a body, of changing one's mind as you go through and learn about life. So it's a kind of gradual transformation that occurs. Metanoia. Yeah. So it's the changing of one's heart and mind into a new way of life. So it's like a soul evolution, right? And I think that's what we're all going through. So I titled this, we always eat humble pie, because that's the only way that you can really progress on this soul evolution, right? We are. This is a good time to maybe highlight something that the Buddha apparently said, and it's basically to not accept teaching or doctrine in any religion or whatever it is, or from any institution, as a fact. So do not accept only teaching as fact or out of faith, Just because you have faith, you believe in these people, they have your best interests at heart, whether it's a school teacher, a government person, your parents even. You know, you have to disassociate from that, yeah? So do not accept only teaching as fact out of faith and devotion, but through investigation and experimentation, yeah? So that's the whole thing, isn't it? We experiment, we grow up and we start experimenting with life. We start trying those things that everyone told us we shouldn't do. Or maybe you spend your life not doing those things, or they scare you so much that you might try them and then back away, yeah? But there are other people who do spend their entire life testing these things and investigating how and why we are told to believe certain things, and then realizing that we are indoctrinated into belief systems. Doesn't matter whether you were born in the jungle or in the city. It happens to us all, yeah, because we can't help but be influenced by the events and the people and behaviors of them and the culture that surrounds us. So of course, if this was a game in which we're not really given any rules, but we had a bit of a heads up before we entered the game, I'm talking about, you know, just life in general, whether you're living as an animal or a person, you're going to have to at some point look at the stark reality of the situation, and then it's up to you, isn't it? It's up to you whether you continue to question and continue to investigate, or you literally turn a blind eye and you find some kind of comfort in the way that you've constructed your life, your outlook, your own outlook on life, right? This is me, I am this, I like these things, I don't like those things, I'm a lefty, I'm a righty, I'm a whatever. All these labels, yeah, that we kind of start to stick on ourselves as we I suppose, you know, there's that period in as you grow up where you try and achieve certain things in order to be labelled in a certain way, yeah, or see, you know, imagine yourself as a certain thing or person or type of person, yeah. Nothing wrong with that. We all see it. We see it happening to if you have kids and you watch them. If they become teenage kids, they might go through. You know, they might enter into kind of. It can go either way, can't it? They can become very secluded, or they can become very outgoing. There can be a lot of confusion, a huge desire to be somebody, to be recognized as somebody with a label. But then a great deal of confusion because of all these labels which don't necessarily mean anything. Yeah. So yeah, this is the whole thing, isn't it? When you're a truth seeker, you do eat humble pie. And this is just in general in life. You might be in a situation where you thought you were clever, you thought you could do something better than someone else, or you thought you knew best, or you just thought you knew. And then things happen in life where you're faced with a contradiction to what you thought you knew. And of course, if you investigate something like flat Earth and you start to try and prove the globe, then you know, ultimately, if you are the kind of person that can eat humble pie, whether privately or publicly, then your heart and mind will change. And of course, one of the big changes here is that realization that we are in a place where we are responsible for our thoughts and actions, and we can't always play the victim. Yeah. And of course, fear is the biggest thing here. The mind and the body connect with fear, whether it's imagined or real, in the same way. So basically, you see a physical threat, let's say a snake is coming towards me here, then I will feel fear. My mind will go into kind of fight or flight mode, right? And so will my body. Both things happen. And maybe if I was then attacked by this snake, that would be another level of fear, right? And so of course from then on you might just recall that incident in your mind, or you might imagine another similar scenario that just isn't reality. You've just imagined it, that okay, that could happen to me again, or you could associate that event with something else imagined, something about the future that you might worry about. So of course then the body and the mind do the same thing. They act and behave and react as if you really are in that situation when you're just imagining it. Yeah. So again, that going back to that farmer who's sitting there in his tractor fearing the future while he's sitting in his tractor ploughing his fields, and all he wants to do is carry on farming for the generations that he's been doing it, and pass that legacy on to his children. Of course there is a threat, there's a real threat that this is going to be taken away, and of course the issue is that people have to be awake to this, and they have to accept that there's a problem with the way we've allowed ourselves to be governed and ruled. Yeah, but the solutions are always quite simple and sane, and really quite ordinary, and it's just going back to that kind of humble position of respect, mutual respect, and not a desire to control nature and the realm and the environment and other people, but to be unsui, to instead go with the flow, yeah, and let things run their natural course. The psychos always get caught out, but they don't really necessarily feel any guilt for being caught out anyway. Yeah. But yeah, most of us were operating on this fear level, and yeah, that's kind of the ultimate goal, isn't it? To get rid of the fear, and it does take a lot of mental practice and thought, not necessarily thought per se. Again, it's getting away from all these things about thought, this mental construct. Yeah, it's more about being free of the thought and acting intuitively with the flow. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what I wanted to say. So let me just go through the chat here. TechnoKid 2020, the feeling about this place realm is that somewhere down the line things got corrupted, and I mean a long time ago when it was first populated. Yeah, nicely said. Yeah, I'd agree. But it's I think it is all to do with the way, we can make this place heaven or hell, depending on us. It really depends on us. Of course, the more populated we become, the larger the groups of people, the more crazy it's going to get. That's the thing, isn't it? Localized satellite communities are really the most effective. They operate by themselves, and they can be kind of effectively governed by not necessarily a democracy, right, but more of what makes sense to much more of the majority, the entire tribe, as it were, the entire community. Yeah. So when you decentralize everything, it makes it a lot better, and of course people are then free to come and go between those different communities. It doesn't matter, right? There's but trying to put everyone into, and that's why maybe we have to have these dichotomies. You look at how many people are in the US or something, for example. I can't remember how many it is, but you've got basically this false dichotomy of a democracy where you're just basically got the nation divided between two irrelevant parties. Yeah, it's but that's how they have to do it on a grand scale, I suppose. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, it would appear to get messy. Reminded me of something else. Maybe I'll come back to that. Corey Murphy, hello, thank you. Techno Kid 2020 again. I realized very early that I was better off alone, but I've always been sociable in nature, mind suppressed intent. Oh, okay, yeah. Kind of similar. It's good to be comfortable alone, isn't it? That's an important aspect of it as well. You'll find some, maybe we've all experienced it, or you'll know people that cannot. Just being alone with your thoughts can be quite terrifying, right? Because we've always got these distractions. You wake up, and these days it's reach for the phone, and maybe in the past it was reach for other things. But there's always a distraction. Just leaving the TV on until you fall asleep. Just avoiding any space to just be alone with our own thoughts. Yeah. Smooth. What's that? Smooth cues. I agree. This place could be a heaven, but we are being run by people who want to. But yeah, that's a really succinct way of putting it, isn't it? Yeah. And so that I think that's the thing, isn't it? There will always be that battle, right? There'll always be that, and that's what maybe this place is all about. It's not, this idea that a benevolent God created it is kind of, well, again, that's misleading, right? Yeah. It's more about this brings to mind us. Okay, the way the Thais depict hell, or one particular depiction of hell is you have being in this place where it's a hot place, where you have to climb these very thorny trees. Now I can't remember the name of the trees, but they're a type of tree which has maybe got a trunk so wide, and they've got these they're more like spikes that stick out of them rather than thorns. Yeah, so climbing one of those is excruciatingly painful. So I remember years and years ago there was this guy they just filmed this guy who felt he had to do this in real life. He had to go and find these trees and climb, I think it was 5 or 6 of these trees, and go through this intense pain and suffering in order to kind of get rid of some old karma. Okay, it wasn't clear what that was, but he just felt this huge desire to do this, and he did it. So we're watching this guy climb these trees and actually just climb up and then climb down again. And man, what was the point of that story? It's just that okay, yeah, it's maybe that's the thing. Maybe the suffering that we have in this particular life, it's just a theory, right? Of course, I can't prove anything, but it's an idea that puts things into perspective. But if certain things happen to us in a certain way that are really, really and truly beyond our control, regardless of the kind of decisions we tried to make or whether we are conscious or unconscious of them, then maybe these are some kind of karmic reactions. Maybe the physics of this realm works that way, that whether it's in a previous life or a current life, you have to deal with your karma. You put out good and you get back good. You put out negativity or badness, you're going to get badness in return. So even whether you're kind of psychopathic in nature and you consider that you've won over something, or you've bettered someone, or you've achieved something for your own gain at the cost of someone else, then even if that doesn't seem to affect you, it will come back at you, whether in this life or possibly in another life. So regardless of what kind of creature we are in this realm, as we are going to experience suffering, and we're ultimately going to experience death. And of course that's seen as a terrible, terrible, terrible thing, and we almost we try to cover it up. You don't really see dead bodies very often, right? And who knows, if when we die, what if we die with our soul or our spirit in a certain kind of turmoil, does that turmoil remain when we depart the body? Is our mission, is the game, is the idea of the game, winning the game here, to kind of reach that point where you have disassociated from all those things that are that torment us, right? Have you reached some kind of peace? Are you able to forgive people for their actions, even if they are murderous, for example? Are you able to forgive yourself for some of these things? And of course, the older you get, I'm 50, I think I'm 52 now. You know, you can sit down, you can just sit there and find yourself remembering things that happened to you. You just imagine all those things that have happened to you in say 50 years, things that have maybe just been hidden, suppressed, or you just forgotten. But then when you sit down, you've got time to just think about them. Those memories come back, and these are all things that we can look back on and reflect upon on this journey of metanoia, right? This you know, you know, what have I learned from that? What did I do? You know, of course, if you reflect and you realize that you did something in the past that was based on you know, being guided by certain thoughts or beliefs, well, okay, recognizing that is okay. And obviously it can be very it brings up the angst, it brings up all those feelings, right? They all rise. I mean, I know people that refuse to talk about the whole Rona narrative. You know, they refuse to talk about it because well, I suppose they know, and they are scared that of you know, they understand that they were kind of persuaded to do something that you know, to drink the tea that yeah, a lot of other people were warning them about. And so yeah, again, you can choose, can't you, right? You can choose whether you kind of face that and look at how you acted or reacted at the time and think, okay, I could have done that differently, or I did that based on beliefs, or I did that based on fear. And if you can then, you know, take that. Oh, the post is Bryce Anima. Post person's just arrived. Just a minute. Is it something for us? Hang on a sec. Ah, hang on a sec. Just a sec. Go and see the postie. Recap. มีอะไรต้องเซ็นไหม คิรันนะคิรัน ต้องจ่ายด้วยไหม180โอเคแป๊บนึง182โอเคแป๊บนึงให้เขาเซ็นเองได้เลยdelivery it's all right Bernie all right okay there you go. So just before I get back to the comments again, I mean, to be honest, you know, just from personal experience these days, so much crap has gone on. My car's blown up, computers gone, certain working relationships have gone crap, and it's funny. A lot of, you know, the last 2 weeks have been absolutely mental, really, or a drastic change in that respect. Haven't been able to open the chip shop and things like that, but at the same time, it's felt like, yeah.
I only have $1,000 note on me.
Yeah.
Can she transfer the change to your bank account?
Right. Yeah. There's no other money. Got any money?
Yeah, I don't have any small notes. I only have $1,000.
Okay. I'm kind of in the middle of a stream right now. Are you? Just a sec. Guys, bear with me, okay? Just a sec. Let's work this out. Get into mum's account, yeah?
Are you sure I can do that?
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. I'll get the QR code. Where's mum's phone? Right. Is it charged?
I've been asking for months.
Sec, guy, bear with me. Just sort out this little thing here. Okay. Just give me a second. Go and ask Mum. Do you know how to do this? You have to get the QR code up, and then ask Mum to put the PIN number in.
Do you know the PIN number?
I can't remember it. Yeah. Badman Cup. Alright, okay, where are we? Just let me try and sort this out. So the delivery guy, person, hang on a sec. Clear my young. Oh, my don't time burlock. Alright. Alright, sorted. Okay, so that's funny. So what happened there was didn't have enough change. He had only a big note for the delivery. The delivery person didn't have change. So she then sent the change digitally by scanning the bank app. Okay, just making sure that went in. All right. Okay. Cool. We actually use this. We use the I must admit, we use the digital currency a lot in the shops. It's very commonplace now. It works. Yeah. People just scan the QR code. Whatever. Okay. Where are we? Okay. Thanks, Inrem. I like this shirt. It's very, it's kind of it's a them-they shirt. Where are we? Okay. Whoa. Okay. Callum Wilkinson, hello there. And we've got Effed Up World in there as well. Motorola. Okay. Technikid. Okay. Harmon Walker. Good to see you, man. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, feeling, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, feeling healthy. Yeah. Doing lots of fruit and just kind of trying to. Yeah, I think I was just saying that's the thing. All of these things. How things happen. Like sometimes, all these things happen at once, and that does bring about change in your life. And it can be very, very frustrating. But of course, what we spend our time doing is worrying about the future. I mean, basically for the past 2 weeks, we've been trying to work out a new car. The first deal fell through. The second one, now we've got Chinese New Year, which has kind of slowed everything down as far as getting things approved. So okay, it's like just gotta go with the flow. Metanoia, or no, sorry, unsui. Yeah. That's all you can do, right? And what's the point in getting frustrated? Yeah. Hi, Emerald Rider. Russell Brand would be jealous of the shirt. Yeah. And this is another thing. What any of you that would ever think that you could kind of, if you have a distribution network, right? There are so many things that whether it's raw materials or things that could be sent to Thailand, whether it's clothing or other kinds of materials. There are certain things which, for example, there's this natural. It's like cotton. It's like cotton wool, really, but it's a natural filler that comes out of these pods that grow on these trees, and that can be used for mattress filling and pillow filling and stuff like that. It's completely natural, things like that. There are so many things that could be, and I especially love natural products, coconut oil, things like that. In fact, that was something I was going to do years ago. When I was still living in Bangkok, so that would have been about 20 years ago, before anyone was really selling coconut oil. I got a source from southern Thailand. It was a coconut plantation, and it was all a natural process. So what happens to get coconut oil, you obviously you've got the water in a coconut, but then you've got the meat, so the oil comes from the meat. And what happens is you basically, you know, if you leave this meat out in the sun, it just dissolves into oil, right? And that's the natural process, you know, like, or you could cold press it if you want, but a lot of the coconut oil, especially kind of like the stuff, that kind of very sweet smelling coconut oil, has actually been done with heat. It's been processed, yeah, mechanically. Whereas obviously the organic coconut oil is much better. Hasn't been refined. And what you can see with that, if you see coconut oil for sale and it's in a coldish country, then or even in a cold store or something, then that coconut oil will be like a jelly, like wax, yeah, like a kind of waxy thing. It'd be white, yeah, but when it just becomes liquid when it's warmer. But I was going to do that. I was trying to, but didn't. To try and kind of establish this was, the internet was not long in Thailand at that point, but I had this goal to sell coconut oil and get that out there, but I just couldn't establish the contact. So I didn't have people that I knew in the UK, for example, which would have been a good starting point, that were prepared to take on something like that, where they would then have the connections or the knowledge or the skills or the ambition even to kind of create that distribution network. So anyone who wants to kind of discuss possibilities there, get in touch with me. My email is nick@stretchoutmedia.com, nick@stretchout media.com. Yeah. Just get in touch with you can get in touch through the YouTube channel anyway. Yeah, because there's always opportunities to explore in that sense. We've all got to make money. We've all got to trade. Yeah, and if I can introduce certain natural products to the mass market, then that's great. I'd love to be able to do that. There's so many things, whether it's bentonite clay, yeah, like coconut oil, and all these other things. Fabrics that are not detrimental to the environment either, that kind of celebrate the abundance of nature and bring that to other people, then let's talk. Yeah, so V Thomas, Daddy Nick, yeah. Corey Murphy again, hello. The Batman 2022 stretch out. Oh, this goes definitely. Oh, come on, yeah. Who the hell are you? Yeah. What do you mean by that, huh? So there's this guy, Batman, a guy I presume, or someone who was probably confused about their own gender, yeah? The Batman 2022. So you think that just because I'm a guy in Thailand that I'm over here doing something dodgy, yeah? That's exactly the kind of, it's sad really that that's the kind of bigoted approach or mindset that someone would have, yeah? This is the exact problem we have. This is the difference between truth seekers, realists, and just frankly average people that haven't even got a clue why they believe certain things. So you come along and you believe just because I'm sitting in my family's garden in my garden in Thailand with my family that I'm here for sadistic reasons. That's just projection, man. That's just shows the sickness that goes with the disease of that kind of bigoted thinking. It's not your fault though, yeah? That's just the way you've been conditioned and to think, yeah, because you've read certain news stories, and then you think because someone, some people might go to a country to do things that they couldn't get away with in their own country, or it's a bit easier to do, yeah. They always get caught, by the way, yeah. You think you tar everyone with the same brush, and so you're probably here thinking that all truth seekers and conspiracy theorists are nut jobs, right? Yeah, that's just that's just typical. Alan Walker, I am 65 now. Wow. Okay, when I was 19, I believed my religion so much. I went on a mission. I wanted to tell everyone. So, in my opinion, knowing we are not on a ball is so different than belief. Yeah, man. That's yeah, fair, nicely put. Yeah, yeah, and it is. You know, when you're that age, right? It's funny how you can reflect on that, right? And you kind of realize, oh wow, I was, and you see how you were influenced. And it's happened to us all, right? That's the thing, isn't it? It's whether you get to that point. Maybe the time we're given on this earth is the time we need to kind of like work this shit out. What was I thinking? What was I doing? Oh dear. Awakening Soldier, hello. Yeah, I would do, but I can't be bothered. Yeah, I mean these guys reveal themselves. They show themselves. Yeah, and that's fine. It's funny. I mean, again, here's another story that my wife really put into perspective very well. Just the other day, I was on the motorbike because we don't have the truck at the moment, and so I was trundling along, just keeping in line with on the back roads here, just by here, and then there's this beep of a guy behind me in this one of those big jacked up pickup trucks, and he was rushing, and then he had a couple of Alsatians, and we had one Alsatian and another Alsatian looking dog, like a crossbreed, in the back of his pickup truck. And it's down this road past a school, and there's speed bumps, and it's kind of, you just have to kind of just trundle along, but he was in this mega hurry. He tooted me out of the way. I was just following behind another car, just keeping up with the traffic. And then he was swerving in and out, and he was just driving really aggressively, and he managed to get a couple of cars in front. But as soon as he'd done that, because I was thinking, okay, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, chill. Maybe he's got an emergency he needs to get to. That's fine. Let's just let him, and then he eventually just pulled into this field, and so I kind of just kind of slowly drove by once I caught up. And he was just letting out his dogs in the field. It was a young guy, shirtless, tattoos all over his chest, bald head, all that stuff. Might have been Russian, might have been Brit, I don't know, but he was a foreigner. That's the thing. It's like, he was in that kind of young, aggressive mood, and you can also feel that when I know when I kind of first came here, there is that kind of sense of freedom, but there's also this this idea that we are somehow better than the people whose country we've come to. Yeah, this is the kind of mindset that is very kind of European, I suppose, a Western mindset. If you're coming from some kind of so-called first world place to a kind of a developing nation, then they've gracefully let you in their country as a guest, but then you can end up walking around like you own the place, like you feel that you're better than everyone else here, and there's this ignorance. It's because you're ignorant. You just do not know how you look to the other people. The other people are looking at you, and of course Thais are very quiet in that respect. They don't necessarily say anything if you're being embarrassing yourself. It's so. I kind of told my wife this story that this guy was being just a nutter, just an aggressive nutter, but he wasn't really in a hurry. He wasn't going to an emergency, and he was just acting tough. And of course, in his mind, he wasn't seeing himself from an outside perspective, and it might be, my wife said that's the thing, it might be years later that you might look back on that, if you survive being a dick in the first place, that you then kind of, you feel embarrassed. You feel embarrassed for yourself. You feel embarrassed for what you did, yeah. And this is again part of that journey, that metanoia, right? This is this is what it's all about, yeah. Where we reflect on our actions and our behaviours and our beliefs. And sure, you would then, for a lot of the time, if you look back on that, you would then kind of feel embarrassed, yeah. It's one thing to be embarrassed yourself and not talk about it, but it's another thing to actually just kind of be totally open and talk about it, yeah. And that's the thing. It's all about fear, because fear just suppresses all these things. Yeah, the fear that's, you know, of our identity that we've assumed being changed or crushed. Yeah. Yeah, nice one, Emerald. Yeah, it should be Ratman. Yeah. That's funny, Inram. Yeah, yeah. What's this, Emerald? Nick, have you looked into being an Amazon affiliate type thing? You can ship oils and such to Amazon and let them distribute your products, no warehousing and such. Yeah, it's a possibility. I suppose, you know, it's the rebel in me, you know. I don't want to be feeding the beast, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's true. There is this whole distribution system there. It's possibly worth looking into. I just, yeah. Uh, that's true. You don't need the stock. That's the biggest thing, isn't it? Having the stock, because you have to send these things over by the container load to make it worth it a lot of the time. That's probably the biggest problem. Wholesale is the way to go, really, rather than retail. Yeah, with the coconut oil thing, I tried putting together these little kind of kits, you know, in a basket with a bit of coconut oil and a bit of incense and things like that. Some kind of, and that became challenging because, yeah, it's ultimately a lot easier to just sell wholesale, boom, you know, just move these things and let people kind of do things with them at the other end. Otherwise, it gets very messy and stuff. So, yeah, that's why I'm looking at kind of larger shipments in that respect. Awakening Soldier, Canadians are liked everywhere, not Americans. In REM, soldiers are soldiers for the elite. Samantha Benson. Hammer Walker at Picketwood. I live right outside Las Vegas. We have our football championship Super Bowl in Vegas. The Truth and Community are predicting things about the yeah. Yeah, it's not really a thing here, the Super Bowl. I mean, only Americans here have any kind of interest in it, you know, but really it doesn't even come on the radar here at all. Yeah. Nor does Christmas or anything like that, for example. Yeah. Whale oil beef hooked, in my opinion, narcissism, box thinking comes from excessive TV watching. Yeah, that could be, yeah, especially the kind of TV that we're given with this kind of, you know, it's all about vengeance and winning, isn't it? Yeah, that we, you know, it's all about winning rather than cooperation. Yeah, cooperation is kind of boring, you know, but beating someone up or getting revenge is obviously more compelling. Yeah, you're right, Techno. Drop shipping is tricky, so many are doing it. This is the thing, yeah. Emerald, yes, the shipping packaging is the costly part. You can ship one lot to Amazon, they do the rest. Okay, I will definitely look into it. I'm sure they've, you know, this is it. That's I can understand why it's so popular, is because obviously they have the infrastructure and the setup in place, don't they? So, yeah, you know, why not promote healthy products and stuff here? Callum, I think there are some good examples here of people living in hell or heaven. However, pretty sure I'm living in the middle, perhaps in the middle of others' hells and heavens. Nicely put. Yeah, that's well, this is it, isn't it? Yeah, the middle path, right? It's a kind of, you know, because obviously if you're going to get too you know, if things are going to be too good, it can't always be all good, right? You know, the better it gets, you know, that coming crashing down is going to be really bad, isn't it? You know, it's kind of swings and roundabouts, right? But that middle path where you're not being distracted by, you know, too much positivity and too much negativity, it's yeah, that I like that. That's nicely put, man. Yeah. Harmon Walker, everywhere you turn, there is some kind of story about Swift. So I was just wondering, ah, again, yeah. Of course, I've seen them, and you're right. On my Twitter feed or whatever it is, I get that because it's all about that kind of, stuff. But no, there's, and whatever. I mean, even when some of these major events go down, there's this feeling here that it doesn't really affect this place. Yeah, even something like, I don't know, 9/11 was of course, it was a big thing. It appeared on the TV and stuff. But, it's like, yeah, that's going on over there, and that's like, well, on the face of it, it's just, yeah, that's the consequence of the Americans invading all these countries. Of course, there's other things going on, but it's just a blip on the radar, really. All of these things, yeah. And again, I think, if as we kind of talked about earlier, if everyone's focused on something happening at the Super Bowl, or Taylor Swift helping sway audiences to vote for a certain president, who gives a shit, really? We know it's a pantomime. It's just like, well, so yeah, it's like this guy stage left, this guy enters stage right. So what? It doesn't. Even the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin. I think, yeah, it's a cool move. It's nice. It's great. Very well played by both of them. Yeah, and hey. If it exposes the, for example, BJ from the UK scuppering the peace talks and stuff. I mean, it's just, that's the thing. Putin's looking at it like, okay, well, yeah, you guys, you just do your thing, you have your little things, but yeah, you just carry on playing around, and it's just, yeah, this dichotomy is being created, and you really don't have to worry about it. Yeah. It's it just all told, Putin comes across as the more mature, reasoned, savvy person, yeah, and because it's comfortable with the power, yeah, because it's like, yeah, they've got the resources, they've got the land, they don't need, they don't seem to have this mission. I mean, this idea of swallowing up other nations and stuff. This is the Western mindset. This is the the so-called Great British thing. That's what the colonialists, that's what we were doing, and it failed because all these countries that were colonies never really, they want. There's good and bad, right? There's infrastructure that was put in place in Africa, which was then left and then has decayed, and Africa could have, but because their own infighting and stuff, because they wanted to control certain things, and then it just ended up being a mess again. Yeah. So Singapore might be a good example of where. They created the rail system, and it was they created a trade hub basically, and an infrastructure, and they've maintained it and made it better even. It's a very efficient economy and a very efficient country, and I suspect that most people are fairly happy, and they've got nothing to really complain about. Yeah, in somewhere like Singapore, because it's well maintained. There's a comfortable equilibrium that's been maintained. Yeah, so it's all down to the people that have it in the end. And so, yeah, you do need a certain amount of control, and sometimes a certain amount of force is required to keep that control. But yeah, you can get into all sorts of rabbit holes on in that sense. But that's the thing. Even if we want to be totally free, being free is still a disciplined thing, right? Being autonomous. And you still have to respect others, right? If you want to have your free life and be very free in what you do, though you still have to self-impose some limitations, right? Because obviously your freedom to play music at 3 a.m. is all good if you're not affecting others, but if you're affecting your neighbours, then you can expect some kind of resistance. You're creating conflict. So yes, you have the freedom to do that, but the consequences, well, you instigated them by just not thinking of others, right? Yeah. So in a You know, you wouldn't have to have laws if everyone was just respectful of each other's freedom and peace. Then you wouldn't have to have laws that say you can't put your music on after a certain time of night, or you know, things like that. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, as society and community gets larger and larger, then there do have to be some rules that are laid down, I suppose. Can you hear the chickens? They sing, yeah. A few times a day they'll start singing, yeah. So when chickens are together, this is how they behave, yeah. Quite smart. They just have yeah, it's cool. But there's that house over there has got chickens and ducks. It's got those kind of big kind of show chickens, the ones that get feathers on their legs and they get quite big. Yeah, but they have their little sing song a few times a day. Adrian, what's that? Marcario. Good, thank you. V. Thomas, good to see you. Flat Earth stuff, hello. Painful fluoride blues, formaldehyde barbecue. Awakening soldier. Swift is MK Ultra victim. V. Thomas. Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, whatever. You know. So what these people that are making this is it. You know. So. Obviously, you've got to be smart and strategic and stuff if you're going to, especially if you're in music. You know, you've got to. You know, there's a lot of hard work. People do get famous from their hard work, right? And an ability to navigate their way through that. Yeah. And but are they really? You know, I'm sure it must be a buzz to play to, you know, tens of thousands of people, right? And yeah, there's a point where you will realize that you have massive influence over people, and that's when you have to really bite the bullet, isn't it? That's when you have to kind of think to yourself, okay, am I now going to use my influence, or not use my influence, but just accept the influence I have, and then just be true to myself and not worry about whether I gain or lose any of that influence. But usually when people start buying their houses in Hollywood and things like that, it's like, if I had that much money, I wouldn't want a massive place to look after. Yeah, it wouldn't be part of my to-do list, right? I would just, there's so much more you could do with if you had a huge amount of money, rather than just creating this narcissistic palace. Yeah. So when people are doing that with all their money, as far as I'm concerned, they're still stuck and lost in that illusion. And of course, it will come crashing down one day. One day they won't be able to afford the upkeep of this, 22-bedroom mansion with 6 swimming pools and expansive land. Yeah, it's a big bloody headache. Yeah, it would be a lot easier to just kind of buy 100 acres of land and just let nature take its course. Say, there you go, there's my gift back to the earth. Yeah, I think this is again another essential part of what we're supposed to be doing here is appreciating and respecting where we come from. Where do we come from? The earth seems to be the most obvious answer, and of course everything, our lives, whether it's an animal or whatever it is, everything's kind of taking from the earth and giving back to the earth. We're the only people that take, and we don't really give back to the earth. Yeah, all other animals play a part, and our role really should be as nurturers, as gardeners, as creators. We can maybe manicure the beauty of this, but instead we just continue to destroy a lot of the time. Yeah, this is it. Again, it's all an individual journey. Yeah, it is all down to the individual. Heaven and hell exist for sure, and maybe kind of in this realm, as it were. Yeah, and maybe we just, our ideas about what happens after death, if anything, are just ideas. They're just thoughts. We don't know. Yeah. The time is now, and now is right now. There is no future, there is no past, really, when we're doing this. Yeah, it's when we're just living life, and really, if we're just focused on the now and appreciating the now, and you know, being an observer, then things kind of you end up, you know, having that unsui, the drifting along with the clouds or going with the flow of the water on our metanoia, our journey of changing heart and changing minds, because that's what should be happening on a daily basis if you are seeking truth, right? Every day you'll be faced with things that challenge you in that respect, right? Things will come up that will make you angry or make you frustrated or make you jealous or make you feel all these different negative and positive emotions. But our job, the game, the name of the game is to kind of, again, have that middle path and just be an observer and not get dragged into these things and not get dragged into the dichotomy. And again, just to repeat those words, you know, from Buddha, apparently, right? Do not accept any teaching as fact out of faith or devotion, but through investigation and experimentation. Yeah. And that goes for all of this. It goes, you know, for flat earth, globe earth, whatever. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, just don't accept things because you have faith in them and because you want to believe them. Yeah, if you're seeking truth, then you will investigate and then you'll experiment. Yeah, and that's, yeah, it's a really, really simple rule for life. Yeah. V. Thomas, it is depressed. Kids in chains in parts of Africa, veterans in tent cities. Yeah, it's nuts, man. I mean, yeah, to see the degradation now in some of these major cities, I mean, it's bloody obvious, isn't it? You know, that things have gone downhill. We you know, but again, that's the natural process. It's really, you know, if you look at this in a much longer time frame, then empires rise and fall, right? And if and when the psychos are in control, they're never going to create anything that is constructive or positive. They are always going to create destruction and negativity. They might feel that they've won something or achieved something for their own self-satisfaction, but it leaves the rest of us in, you know, but that's why you just got to look after ourselves, isn't it? Yeah, it's all down to the individual. Yeah, TechnoKid 2020, guys, check out Alchemical Tech Revolution. You will understand why they do what they do and the true history. He goes in depth on the secret societies. Okie dokie, yeah, nice one. Alchemical Tech Revolution. Okay. Flat Earth stuff. Formaldehyde and formamide and formaldehyde is that formamide is an amide, whereas and need to do some chemistry homework there. Harmon Walker says, are there any fear news in your area about internet blackouts or disease X? Nope. None of that stuff. No. Yeah. And that's the thing with the highs, you know, it's very much still, you know, it's a very difficult thing to adapt to as well, you know, that kind of lifestyle where if you can imagine, for example, back, you know, not too long ago, back in, say, for my wife when she was a child, you know, life was a very slow-paced thing. So if, for example, she was telling me how, for example, you know, she lives in a village, just a small village, and then there's maybe, I suppose, let's say 10 kilometers down the road, there's a bit of a town with a market, yeah. So there wasn't really a market in her village, right? So obviously, most of the time, people are just getting by on the food that they grow, right? I mean, literally, people still live this way today in Thailand, right? They literally get up in the morning and they go into the forest and they find whatever things whether it's mushrooms or shrimps, freshwater shrimps, or various fruits, okay, whatever, and maybe they may be growing their own things as well, and then they bring that back, and they make breakfast with whatever they find, whatever's available, and you know, other people might join in, and there's this kind of sharing going on among the community. And for example, just before the rice planting or something, before things get going in the fields, which of course all the people in the community have got their own fields, and so and by the way, you know, the King of Thailand gave land to all the people in Thailand. They all got given land. It was all divided up, and people could go and claim their land a couple of generations ago. So everyone has land that, you know, they were given and was inherited, yeah. That they farm. So around the time that it would be coming up to working in the fields, then there was one particular person in the village who was wealthier than the rest, and he had like a tractor type thing, and so he was the only one with any kind of motorized transport, no bikes and things like that. So we're talking about a 10-kilometer journey, right? So this would be something that they would prepare for the, you know, the going to the market was a whole day thing, right? Okay, get up and they've got to get their rice ready that they can take with them, some other things, and of course, because whether they're going to buy things for, you know, whether it's fertilizer or seeds or whatever. You know, it's this one trip to the market, you know, maybe a couple of times a year. And so it would be a whole day of it, and of course, you know, all the villagers would pile onto this tractor. You know, there weren't places to sit, but they would just and then of course so they would trundle into town, and then they would maybe, and of course they would have to wait as well. You can't just go back when you want, right? Everyone, you have to, so you know, someone's gone and got their stuff that they need, but they've got to wait for the other guys to come back. So it's a whole community event. And then eventually, when everyone's got their stuff and everything's been piled onto the tractor, everyone's then got to kind of find seats on top of this stuff to get back to the village. Yeah. But that was it. It was in my wife's memory, that was a really fun day out, because it was an adventure, you know. And it's like, you also, even if you think back to your grandparents or something like that, or even your own parents, you know, you might go somewhere for the day, but the parents are prepared. They've got water, they've got wipes, they've got some, you know, mum's prepared some sandwiches or something like that. But I think these days it's more of that we've got so used to the convenience that you can just pop out and grab something on the way, and there's just this expectation that things will be conveniently available for you. Whereas it was only a couple of generations ago that we understood the preparation and the work that was involved in order for us to just eat. Yeah. Callum, nurturing the rebel in you. Oh, all right, Emerald, I'll go and check out your video afterwards. Thank you. Okay. The veil is being lifted as we speak, says Techno. Yeah. Emerald says, we need to ask ourselves why at this point in societies do we even need yeah, this is it. Yeah, they are just creating the war, aren't they? Yeah, it's just like that creating that them against us thing, isn't it? Yeah. V. Thomas, conscription. I'm going to do camp it up in Dad's army. Yeah. Bruno Lima, come and discover Rio de Janeiro and smoke the best cannabis facing the sea. Well, I could do that here, but I can imagine. Yeah, Rio de Janeiro. I'd like to see it. It'd be nice. Yeah. Harmon Walker. Okay, so World Cup established 1983. Oh, message retracted from Emerald. What's that Flat Earth British sub? Hello there, mate. Strange that a single human can feel out of place in humanity because that moved to a different country. Nice, yeah, yeah. Emerald Rider, when you focus on things you want and not what you actually need, life soon becomes meaning. Oh, yeah, that's really nicely put, man. Yeah, yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, it's just ask for what you need and be grateful for those. And of course, sometimes what we need is a kick up the arse. Yeah, it's a slap in the face, you know, or a shake. You know, get it together, man. Yeah. And so, yeah, if you ask what you need, it might not be always what we thought we needed, what we wanted, right? Yeah, but it's what we need, and it puts us in a better place eventually. Yeah, that's nicely put, man. Yeah, Harmon Walker, you and Rory Cooper taught me how to see. I will always be grateful for your video of the bicycle crossing the bridge. Oh, well, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm just, that's really nice to hear. As long as it's been, that's it. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, just to know that it's been what the work that's been done has been useful. Yeah. Flat Earth British sub, faith-based illusions and beliefs lead to unoriginal thoughts. Yes, yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment, man. What happened to the video quality? I don't know. Maggie May, do I like Taylor Swift? As a person, I don't know her or him. But, you know, the music is, you know, it's, you can see how it kind of appeals to people, certain songs, yeah. Yeah, V. Thomas, there's good people out there trying to do something. I'm just going through the comments a little bit more here. It's been over an hour, so yeah, Dr. La, hello, Swaddy Cab. V. Thomas, the Duchy of Cornwall are doing what? Zeus Scott, hello, my man. What's that? Okay, Emerald Rider. Any decentralized nations that buy, sell, and barter will always thrive to survive. We need to support small business across the board, especially. Yes, man, spot on, mate. Yeah. Doubtful Doug, what is this ramble about? Life, the universe, and everything, and finding truth, seeking truth on the journey of metanoia. That's what this is all about. Yeah. You're welcome to contribute if you like. Corey Murphy, some say that life is a manifestation of our choices and actions. Others say that manifestation is the art of transforming imagination into reality. Maybe a bit of both, Corey, hey? You know, it all kind of, you know, the yin yang, yeah? One can't exist without the other, and so on, yeah? Okay, all right. Nether reactor core. Hey up, man, how do we live a happy life? By eating humble pie. Have I? S1983 says, "Have you ever been to the vegetarian festival?" Yes, I have. Bit of a kind of yeah. It's interesting, but yeah, now it's just become kind of well, whatever. It's I mean, they say they're being possessed by spirits. May or may not be true. They do the piercings, but it's something that's been. It's a tradition that came from the Straits Chinese that emigrated over here to Phuket, and has maybe taken on this more theatrical form over time. Yeah. V. Thomas, what if you're a sadistic top and need all that? Jesus Scott, thank you. Okay, so you want more insight on the vegetarian festival? So yeah, there's a bit more, but basically it's about 7 days of these different things, which basically are demonstrations of how these people that have so they have they call masong, which are spirit mediums. Yeah, so it's kind of more about the ancestors and things, just like how the Chinese kind of pay respects to their ancestors. So the idea of obviously being vegetarian is a cleansing. They eat a vegetarian meal, but that's the thing. It's like, you know, actually, if you look at how Chinese live in the country and stuff like that, you know, they do eat a lot of vegetables, right? Fresh vegetables, and that's their mainstay. And of course, they occasionally have pigs and stuff with their food, but. Yeah, for anyone that's living in the country in Asia, then, you know, vegetables are obviously a significant part of it. So the idea is with the Veg Fest is that these people who would normally just, you know, they would usually eat an omnivorous diet, would then go veg as a way to kind of, so that it's always well understood that, you know, being vegan or vegetarian kind of purifies your body, and of course your spirit as well, because you're not creating suffering to animals. And so there's that aspect of it. So and then they are, you know, in a kind of cleansed state to be possessed by the spirits of their ancestors or other spirits that are, you know, in folklore. And so then they can do these amazing things like walk up ladders of swords, or walk across burning coals, or stick things in their mouth, their cheeks and things like that, and not feel pain. So, you know, these processions, and there's lots of fireworks and firecrackers going off all the time. So these processions that they have going from the shrine around town, then going back to the shrine again. There's lots of shrines in Phuket. Have these people doing these piercings, and they're wandering around in a bit of a trance-like state. And yeah, that's kind of about it, really. I've been to one where they got this hot water and stuff, and they throw it over you. A lot of them are these kind of, they seem to be, this is it, when, for example, when they do the fire walking, I mean, they do it quickly, all right? They skimp over those coals, and you know, climbing up the swords, I don't know. There are certain techniques, obviously, they do it, you know, so that, yeah, I think these things are kind of, they're not necessarily only possible just because they've been possessed by a spirit, but because there's certain ways of doing it. And for example, the one when there's a video on my channel where you'll see it. It's I can't remember, spirit possession in Phuket or something. It was way back a few years ago, 2015 or 16. So I'm in this place where they're doing it, this shrine, and then there's this big tub of, you know, if you think Asterix kind of thing, you know, where you've got this tub of water that's being steaming away, and it's got herbs and stuff in it, under this, with this fire under it, and you know, so it's all very dramatic. It's very steamy, and then they get these branches of a certain tree, I don't know what it is, and twigs with leaves on them, and then they part of the ritual is to, you know, they get the hot water and they thrash it over themselves. But really, the whole thing is like the water's not really boiling, scalding hot by the time it reaches you. It looks very dramatic, big fire, lots of smoke, steam coming off. But then, you know, they're kind of thrashing themselves with these leaves, and they do these things with axes as well, and swords, and they end up lacerating their back a little bit. So it's kind of this kind of, what would you call that, where you do that self, not necessarily self-mutilation, but I can't remember the word. But yeah, it's all a bit of a show, to be honest. Yeah. Veganism is becoming less popular. I don't know, Thomas. I mean, well, obviously, you know, it's when it gets misconstrued. So what I was going to say about that, sorry, is that that's the thing during the vegetarian festival. What you end up with is all this kind of gunky food, which is very bland, and it's most like they'll just do like fried spring rolls with vegetables in rather than having any meat in them, or everything that had meat is replaced by these kind of tough kind of soya products. Yeah, but, so I'm actually eating. Okay, I'm gonna have to hang up and call back my daughter. Okay, so that'll be enough for now. Yeah, sorry, things to do now. Okay, so let's catch up another time. Yeah. Okay. Gotta take it. Thanks for all your comments. Lovely to see them, and I'll read through them later on. Yeah. So anyway, say goodbye for now. Thank you for joining us. So just a reminder, those two words for today's lesson. Unsui is the Zen term for drifting along like the clouds or flowing like water, and then there's metanoia, is that journey of self-discovery, changing one's mind or heart, and evolving into a new way of life. Yeah, so that's our lesson for today, folks. All right, thank you very much for joining, and we'll catch up soon. Okay, take care, man. Cheers. Now I can't exit this. Trying to say goodbye. I'm trying to get rid of this. Okay, bear with me.